Rubio.
We are joined now by Lincoln Mitchell, the national political correspondent for the New York Observer, and Tara Dowdell, a political and business marketing consultant. Guys, again, good to have you with us. I want to talk about this sort of Southern impact of this contest going forward. A lot of times by Super Tuesday, we kind of know at this point who the nominee is. When it comes to the Republican field, still a very crowded pack. Hillary seems to be widening the gap with Sanders, but how much will be decided by the end of today? Lincoln, we'll start with you this time.
A lot could be decided. There are two things. What we have to look for here is not who wins. We know Hillary Clinton's going to walk away today with more delegates than Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side. The question is by how much? If she gets 60% of the delegates awarded today, she is pretty much the nominee. If she gets 55% or more, she's in very good shape. If Bernie Sanders holds Hillary Clinton to 55% or fewer of the delegates awarded today, that means she will have underperformed, and this goes back to being a neck-and-neck race. That's the quick overview. Sanders also needs to win, obviously he'll win Vermont, he needs to pick up one more state.
He needs to win Massachusetts.
Probably Massachusetts.
Because if he does not win Massachusetts, what does that say about his chances going further west?
But he could win Colorado, he could win Minnesota, some of these non-southern states. So if he could win somewhere besides his base. Massachusetts is also the second most delegates today besides Texas. So that'd be a big prize for him, although it's not winner take all. On the Republican side, if you flip the script a little bit, Trump needs to get to that 55% number. He's in better shape because his opposition is still more dispersed. Cruz has to stop that from happening and has to win Texas. And Rubio has to win somewhere. He can't keep getting nice seconds, close thirds. He's got to win somewhere.
So Tara, let's talk about this Republican Party. If we were talking about Jeb Bush in the same position that Donald Trump is in right now, the Republican establishment would be saying, we have our man.
There would be a coronation.
They seem to have their man, but there is an open revolt in the Republican Party that there are people now, Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, saying, we don't want Donald Trump. You are open now to run against your own titular head of the party. What is going on in the Republican Party?
The Republican Party is afraid. They're afraid of the impact that Donald Trump and Donald Trump's rhetoric will have on swing states, because Mitch McConnell's #1 job is to retain the Senate. And Super Tuesday, we talk a lot about the presidential primaries, but there's Senate primaries going on right now. Alabama has a Senate primary today, Super Tuesday. So you have folks like Senator Shelby, a ranking senator in Alabama, who's afraid that Trump will bring all these outsiders in that are going to vote down ballot establishment candidates.
So the incumbents will be in trouble.
Exactly. So there is a real strong concern that he will bring all these new voters who are not going to be friendly to other Republicans, and that he will also hurt swing states.
And that South Carolina vote scared an awful lot of people because Hillary Clinton brought out so many more African Americans voted in that primary than for Barack Obama. If those people come out in primary contests too, it will hurt candidates.
Exactly. And the other piece is that for Republicans, if African American women are the highest proportion of voters in this country, that is the highest proportion, proportionally speaking, voting bloc in this country as of the last few elections. And so the other presidential elections, that is. But so what the other issue is that for Hillary, if she continues to perform that way, that bodes well for a general election, because you can definitely count on those same voters coming out en masse in a general election. So there are some very predictive implications that we're seeing with this Super Tuesday.
It's interesting because there has definitely been a widening of the lead, that Clinton seems to be widening the gap with Sanders. I wonder how much of that is Democrats afraid of a Trump presidency, and they're thinking we need the candidate that is maybe more experienced, more proven on a national stage.
That is a big part of it, to be sure, but it's not the only part of it. The South Carolina win was inevitable, but it was bigger than expected, and it really highlighted the flaws in the Sanders candidacy. Sanders is at the very least part of a rich tradition of what might be called the elite protest candidate. If you took the Brooklyn accent and replaced it with a kind of San Francisco accent. I'm from San Francisco. I can recognize it. You have Jerry Brown in 1992.
Yeah.
You have Bill Bradley in 2000. We've seen this guy before. He does okay. He doesn't win. And Sanders is beginning to look more like that because he couldn't break out beyond that base.
If you disenfranchise that group of voters, Donald Trump says, I'm going to bring in the moderates from the Democratic Party. Do the Bernie Sanders people who don't like Hillary Clinton and don't believe that she is going to put a chicken in every pot, do they go over then to the Donald Trump side?
We don't know for sure, Bernie Sanders has a lot to do with that. A central component of the Sanders narrative is that everything is rigged. The economy is rigged, politics is rigged. He's not altogether wrong. But if he takes that to the next step, which is if I lose, it's because it's rigged, then he's sending a message to his people, do what you want, stay home in November. The wiser thing and the better thing for the Democratic Party and for progressive politics in general for Sanders, if he doesn't win the nomination, is to say, you know what, I got beat by the better candidate, let's all unify. There's also another piece of this. If Hillary Clinton, as the first woman to be nominated by a major political party in the United States, with enormous support from the non-white voters in the Democratic primary electorate, loses because the angry white left-wing man tells his supporters to stay home, I cannot imagine that a man who has over half a century of commitment to good progressive politics wants that to be his legacy. And I don't think Sanders does want that to be his legacy.
All right. Lincoln Mitchell, national political correspondent for the New York Observer, and Tara Dowdell, a political and business marketing consultant. Been really fun talking about this process with both of you this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We have